Hey, 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 happy Monday. Come on in, pull up a chair. The Gaming Gang Dispatch is in the air. Howdy, 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 gang. Welcome once again to the Duct Tape Studios. I'm Jeff McAleer, your host, here at the Gaming Gang Dispatch, brought to you by, incredibly enough, thegaminggang.com, of which I happen to be the founder and editor-in-chief. Welcome aboard. Today is Monday, August 15th, 2022. This is live stream 816. This is your first time hanging out with me, let me point out, super casual around here. We're talking tabletop gaming news, taking a look at tabletop games. It is not rocket surgery by any stretch of the imagination. Just hanging out, having some fun. So, do want to mention, when you're not watching videos on the Gaming Gang channel, such as this live stream, be sure to visit thegaminggang.com for all latest in tabletop gaming news, reviews, and a whole lot more that you will not find here on the YouTube channel. In fact, we have 4 new reviews, 3 of them from Sammy Uhas, 1 of them is from Ronald Gardner. So those are up. They are all role-playing game related. In fact, 3 of them are Pathfinder, and 1 of them is Old School Essentials. So you've got that. I shared some videos late last week and through the weekend. So I took a first look at the quick start rules for the new edition of Pendragon, which is coming next year. I'm actually very surprised a lot of people have checked this video out. And it is a full page through. We look at each and every page because this is going to be a free PDF anyway. So I don't think the fine folks over at Chaosium Inc. are going to be upset. At least I haven't heard anything that I was sharing all the pages. Also took a first look at the new starter set that is out. It is a Target exclusive currently. In fact, I think it's through, top of my head, I think it's October 4th, October 12th, something like that. And it is the Dungeons and Dragons starter set, Dragons of Stormwreck Isle. If you checked out the video, it's pretty light. Ain't a whole lot of stuff in here, Dooley. A little surprised by that. I gotta say, the Essentials kit looks far better in comparison. I haven't checked out the adventure yet, so I'll be taking a peek at that. And of course, don't forget, yes, you still have some time to get into the running to win my copy of the alternate art edition. I'll show you that in a second. Of Dungeons and Dragons Spelljammer Adventures in Space. That's right. My review will be up tomorrow morning. So if you are curious before you head over to the store to pick it up, my review will be out, and I will actually share who the winner is of this set right here. And I did find out that the artwork on the Dungeon Master screen is different. I thought it was the same in both. It is not. It is different artwork. Although I got to admit, I like the artwork in the standard slipcase set on the Dungeon Master screen. I think it's pretty cool. So also, I did a standalone video where I took a look at the adventure book that is in the slipcase as well. So there has been a lot going on over at both thegaminggang.com and here on the channel as well. So what's cooking tonight? Why, I'm glad you asked, because we are going to take a peek at the Doctor Who Role-Playing Game 2nd Edition Limited Collector's Edition from my friends over at Cubicle 7 Entertainment. This is arriving in stores soon. It is not out just yet. It was available at Gen Con. So we are going to dive in. We are going to take a peek. I also have the standard edition, which this is what we're going to actually do our page through of, because I was informed that outside of the presentation of the cover and the box that the limited collector's edition comes in, the content within is all the same. So we will take a peek to see what this limited edition looks like, and then we will actually do a page through of the standard edition. So lots cooking tonight. I do want to point out, if you are not familiar with this show, we do tackle the tabletop gaming news first. So if you are tuning in because you want to take a peek at that 2nd edition of the Doctor Who role-playing game, sit tight, put your feet up, relax. I'm sure it's been a long day. Pamper yourself for a change. We're going to get to it probably about 30 minutes or so, thereabouts. Do want to also mention that if you're watching this 30 minutes or more after the stream ends, there are timestamps. So if you want to jump past the tabletop gaming news, although there's some cool stuff, you may not want to jump past it, but you can if you want. And depending on the device you happen to be using to watch this, those timestamps might be right there in the timeline of the video. You can jump right ahead. And of course, this is a live stream, so that means there is chat available. It's not on screen. It's one of the ways I keep some of the more unusual commenters at bay. But if you want to say howdy, maybe you got a question, a comment, by all means, chime in. I will do my best to respond. You do have to be a subscriber to the channel for at least 48 hours before you can take part in chat. So that's another way that I keep some of the more unusual commenters at bay. So first out the gate tonight was the Motor City Madman himself. That's right, the Madman is with us. John Vogel, Christopher Rush, Mr. Eddie T, which normally means Sarah D is not far behind. And yes, I see there is Sarah D. Jason Bratley's with us. And I think that is it so far. So howdy, everybody. Happy Monday. Thanks for popping on in. Christopher points out that they have the 1st edition of the Doctor Who role-playing game. So do you have the 1st edition that was actually entitled Doctor Who Adventures in Space and Time? Or do you have the 1st edition where they just changed it to Doctor Who the role-playing game? Because they have put out different, they haven't really changed much with the 1st edition stuff, except for the artwork, the trade dress on the cover, which Doctor was being featured. So I'm kind of curious because Adventures in Space and Time, or was it Time and Space? For some reason, I thought it was Time and Space. And then I said that one time and somebody corrected me and they were like, oh, no. The Adventures in Space and Time. It's like, okay, all right, okay. All right, okay, all right. Jason says they picked up the PDF of Doctors and Daleks. They have not read it yet. Yes, I've got it as well. I have not taken a peek. Normally what I'll do is I don't dive into the English, Jeff. English. So Christopher says it's Adventures in Time and Space. Time comes first. Yeah, I thought it did. And then suddenly Doctor Who got on a kick where it was space and time. I don't know why. But anyway, I was going to say, normally what I do when I receive PDFs from Cubicle 7 Entertainment I might skim them real quickly, but I don't actually start reading them until I know the hard copy is in transit or is shortly going to arrive. So a lot of times when I get that book, I can share a first look and then turn around and do a review of it maybe the week afterwards. So I have not taken a peek at it just yet. We will talk a little bit about some of the cool stuff with Doctor Who, the role-playing game, when we take a peek at it. So there are some items on sale right now that you might consider taking a peek at. All right, let's jump on into the news because arriving in October from Pegasus Spiele comes Sky Mines. Here's the skinny. 50 years ago, humanity began mining the moon and the asteroids. And for decades, that task was firmly kept in the hands of the world government, whatever world government might be. But the turmoils of recent years have caused this enterprise to collapse. Obviously enough, because it's run by the world government. Now adventurous companies and private investors take to the sky to revive this mining network. As investors, you try to earn the most crypt coin over the course of 7 rounds. You do this by investing mined resources in companies and by spreading your outposts. You can improve your earnings by supporting your scientists' research and by having them collect precious helium-3. Oh, my precious helium-3. The Heart of Sky Mines is a unique card programming and hand management system that requires careful and clever planning. It provides deep player interaction by letting you invest in any of the 4 companies as you see fit. And as the combination of company abilities changes each game, there are endless synergies and strategies to explore. Sky Mines is for 1 to 4 players, ages 12 and up. Plays in around 75 to 150 minutes. Gonna take a guess that's probably based on number of players. It's gonna carry an MSRP of $59.99 when it arrives in stores on October 6th. There has been some discussion about Sky Mines. There's a little bit of buzz about Sky Mines. It looks like it could be kind of interesting as far as sitting there and you're not actually taking over a corporation or a company yourself. You are actually backing particular companies. So you're an investor. So that's kind of interesting right there. It's The Big Short in space. Wraithing is with us and joining us. Said they weren't planning on being awake this late, but the gaming gang is live. It's alive. It's a bonus. Yes, yes. So Christopher says helium-3 is better than unobtainium. So if anybody's out there watching For All Mankind, if I remember correctly, isn't helium-3 a big thing that they're actually on the moon getting? I could have swore, even though now they're on Mars. Oops, spoilers. But I thought they have moon bases that are actually mining helium-3. I might be wrong because it hasn't been like a focus. It was just like a throwaway, couple of throwaway lines. So Tessie, Trekkie, and Chris Ludgren, as well as Kevin R. Smith and Noel Inquisitor is with us as well. And points out, yep, helium-3 is on the moon. Hitting stores next month is Twilight Inscription from Fantasy Flight Games. And here's the latest. The Lazax Empire has burned to ash, rejected by its subjects. The aftermath was tragedy and petty conflict in equal measure, a time of loss and exhaustion. In the ensuing dark years, the factions of the galaxy retreated and recovered their strength. Now they look upon the stars and see an opportunity, a chance to reclaim what was lost, a chance to redefine galactic civilization, a chance to leave their mark upon the stars. Fantasy Flight Games is proud to announce Twilight Inscription, a brand new game in the Twilight Imperium universe. This epic roll and write game for 1 to 8 players offers an experience unlike anything FFG has done before. With a limited pool of resources at your disposal, you'll need to carefully manage navigation, expansion, industry, and warfare as you amass victory points and earn your right to the throne on Mechatol Rex. Will your faction become the new rulers of the galaxy? Oh, I doubt it. Or will your fledgling empire fade into obscurity? More likely. Anything can happen in this strategic, infinitely replayable game. Twilight Inscription is for 1 to 8 players, ages 14 and up, plays in around 90 to 120 minutes, and it's going to carry an MSRP of $64.99 when it arrives in September. Well, yes. Twilight Imperium comes to roll and write. And I believe you're looking at what's in front of each player. I believe each player has those 4 boards, some cards, and so on and so forth. So, I'm kind of interested. I got to be very, very honest. I have never played Twilight Imperium. Never. There have been some times that I thought, should I get it? Should I pick it up? But it's like $170 MSRP. It's kind of like, oh, yikes. So, but I also know of some folks who just absolutely love that game. I think they're on the 3rd edition of that. I might be wrong. So have to check that out. Chris says that I'm one of the best YouTubers covering games on the entire internet. Well, thank you very much. I appreciate that. Thank you kindly. Chris was asking, what's the suggested ages for this game? 14 and up. Jason says they just had Carbon Gray arrive yesterday. Can't wait to read it, but have so many things on their list. Chris says, TGG high school football rules. I am not sure where that's coming from. I don't know what's going on there, Christopher. I don't know. Is it because somebody once commented that I look like I'm a high school baseball coach? It was baseball, it wasn't football. Because I always wear a cap. I always wear a baseball cap. And somebody had made a comment, something like, this wannabe high school baseball coach doesn't know what he's talking about or something, some nonsense. And of course, what they were disagreeing with me on, I was absolutely correct. Yes. Yeah. I bet people out there who comment like assholes just hate when I'm right about something. It really sticks in their craw. Let's talk about some role-playing game news because October is going to see the hardcover release of Starfinder Dead Suns from Paizo Inc. Here's what I know about this new compilation. Starfinder's original campaign returns in a new 6-adventure hardcover compilation. When a fragment of an ancient alien superweapon surfaces in the depths of hyperspace, its discovery sets off a race to find the extraterrestrial doomsday device. Hopping from planet to planet in the packed worlds and beyond, the heroes must contend with both the undead corpse fleet and the nihilistic cult of the Devourer, each of which seeks to acquire the alien artifact for its own purposes. Can the heroes find and destroy the superweapon before their enemies seize control of it? Or will the packed world sun go dark and cold, a harbinger of dead suns across the galaxy? Starfinder's very first campaign explodes onto the pages of this massive hardcover compilation, containing all 6 adventures in the Dead Suns adventure path, a galaxy-spanning campaign that helped launch. Use your words, Jeff. What's with you tonight? It's Monday. I haven't, done a live stream in a few days. I'm always strangely rusty on Mondays. I don't know what it is. It's not like I wasn't shooting videos. Don't know. This is a galaxy-spanning campaign that helped launch the Starfinder role-playing game, along with support articles, rules, monsters, and more. This hardcover is going to arrive in mid-October. I'm going to take a guess. It's probably going to run about 320 pages or so, because usually the Starfinder Adventure Path chapters run about 64 pages. This is going to carry an MSRP of $44.99. I am going to ask my contact over at Paizo Inc. I'm going to ask Aaron how about if it's possible to check this out, because what Paizo tends to do is they have me on like their subscription. So it's the easiest way for me to get whatever comes out. But I don't think that this is part of the subscription. I don't think Crown of the Cobalt King is either. And I would love to see those, because I wasn't really covering Starfinder stuff when this adventure path came out. And I wasn't really covering Pathfinder when the Cobalt King and the other two adventures, which I believe are from first edition, but they are ported over to second edition because there isn't that huge a difference between the two. So I'm going to see. I'm going to see what we can pull off here and find out. See what's going on. So, little discussion in chat here. So Chris says, "Oh, sweet, Paizo, finally! I hate having to track down 6 separate books just to play an adventure path." So there's been some discussion about this, just so you know. First of all, I guess there was some errata, and in this adventure path, I guess there are some things that don't necessarily kind of completely line up logically. They are not going to have massive changes to this adventure path. So as far as I understand, it is pretty much a reprint with probably some minor changes, but it's just reprinting the adventure path adventures. So I understand Paizo is not going to do a lot of these compilations because they still want people to get the better deal with the subscriptions, and that way, they get the chapters right away. Although I have said before, if you are running Pathfinder or Starfinder, I always recommend have all the chapters of the adventure path handy before running it, because on occasion you'll have like major NPCs that get introduced in early chapters who don't get their own sections until later chapters. And then you find out, damn, I've been running their personality way different. So Chris Ludgren is curious how it compares to Stars Without Numbers, the sci-fi game. So Stars Without Numbers is an OSR game, so it is based mainly on D&D. In fact, if I remember correctly, I think it's OD&D. I don't think it's AD&D. And Stars Without Numbers is pretty much hard science fiction, whereas Starfinder is science fantasy. Because I like to joke around all the time. It's goblins in space. If you want to get a better feel for Starfinder, you should check out the interview that I did with John Compton of Paizo at Gen Con. We do talk quite a bit about Starfinder as well. Raything says, Owen, Casey Stevens, one of the writers of the Starfinder compilation there, that guy is busy. Yeah, he does a lot of stuff. So Kevin says, pretty sure that Stevens is now with Green Ronin. That is a possibility. I don't really have a relationship with Green Ronin. Just like Pinnacle Press, I don't have much of a relationship with. I have tried. I once again tried Goodman Games. I'll talk about that after the news because I've had a couple of people ask if I had an opportunity to talk with them. I did, but nothing happened. So Christopher says they're not a fan of 6 parts. Their group eats up adventures too fast to wait a month between AP releases. Well, you got to pad those adventures out. 245 Trioxin's with us. Says they think the shipping costs kind of ruined the subscription service. Depends on what you're getting. I mean, I usually get a pretty good sized box from Paizo, but yes, I will reach out to Aaron and check on both this and the Crown of the Cobalt King. So there is that. Moving right along. Now available in PDF and coming in hardcover in early next year from Monte Cook Games is Path of the Planebreaker. Here's the deets on this 5e compatible release. A cursed moon hurtles through the multiverse, crashing from one plane to the next, never at rest, forever fleeing a catastrophe that predates existence itself. Behold the Planebreaker. The Planebreaker visits all planes, all demi-worlds, all dimensions. Some are known to sages and planar travelers, but in a multiverse stretching across epochs, the number of previously uncatalogued planes is vast. The Planebreaker races through all of them in time, and the path that trails behind it creates a route that links them all. Path of the Planebreaker introduces this enigmatic interplanar object that unlocks access to the planes for characters of all levels. This book includes the Planebreaker and its fascinating city of Timeborn, home to refugees, planar travelers, and residents from across the planes. Base an entire campaign in Timeborn or experience its intrigues as you pass through. There's dozens of exotic planes to explore. Venture into the citadel of the Fate Eater, get lost in the Grove of Crows, or find despair in the Tomb of Tomorrow. They're all connected by the path, a sort of interplanar road that trails behind the Planebreaker. There's new creatures, NPCs, magic items, and spells for the Dungeon Master to introduce. Plus, 2 exciting plane hopping adventures that make it easy to introduce PCs to the Planebreaker and planar travel. New playable species, feats, subclasses, and spells for players. Play a changeable Chimeran, a shadow-stitched rogue, or a cleric of the multiverse domain. Right now, you can pre-order the 240-page hardcover of Path of the Planebreaker for $54.99, which is slated to arrive in early 2023. Or you can grab the PDF right now over at the Monte Cook Games website for $19.99. Yes. Gotta like the artwork. The artwork is very cool. There's the little eyeball creature that's sort of very stunning. It's kind of like, yeah, all right, there he is. Funny enough, I would actually try to make that like a good little creature just because it looks so creepy and weird. It would be so off-putting for it to actually be like a lawful good creature or something like that. So, some comments about the art being very cool. Yes, Monte Cook Games usually has some very, very stunning artwork. That is a no-brainer right there. One thing I do find interesting is how we have seen more and more 5e compatible content from Monte Cook Games over the past couple of years. Whereas early on, Monte Cook Games, it was like they weren't going to touch D&D. So Kevin points out that they're pretty sure the hardcover of Stars Without Number is a print on demand, and it's cheaper and lower quality than a book with an actual print run. I think the same is the case with Worlds Without Number, the fantasy version of Kevin Crawford's work. Kevin Crawford does a lot of cool stuff. Although I got to be honest, I have not checked out either Stars Without Number or Worlds Without Number. Off the top of my head, I could swear that Sammy has done a review for Worlds Without Number over on the website as well. So Kevin says, looks like they might be selling a print run of Stars Without Number on DriveThruRPG. At least I hope the $59.99 price isn't for a print on demand. I would think it probably is. I am not positive. All right, our final news piece arriving this week in print from Modiphius Entertainment is Conan, Adventures in an Age Undreamed of, The Shadow of the Sorcerer. Here's the scoop. Go beyond the veil of death. Mystery and terror are about us, Conan, and we glide into the realm of horror and death, she said. Are you afraid? Ready your blades and prepare to face evil. Travel beyond the veil of life and into worlds beyond. The Shadow of the Sorcerer is an epic campaign for Conan, Adventures in an Age Undreamed of, sending the player characters from the backstreets of Mesantia in Argos to a remote island in the Western Sea, then to the wastelands of Stygia as they seek to prevent a diabolic ritual from bringing forth an ancient evil. In this grand adventure, they must use every scrap of strength, talent, and cunning they possess. I've got a cunning plan, me lord. As they are pitted against the merciless array of sorcerous, monstrous, and mortal foes. If they fail, a great and powerful foe will become unstoppable, unleashing an era of horror upon the world unlike anything it has ever known. Suitable for a group of 2 to 6 player characters, either at the beginning of their heroic careers or battle-hardened veterans. There's guidance for playing with Conan and his allies as the player characters. There's description of the cities of Mesantia, Asgalon, and Zebhela, and the Stygian Valley of Set. A journey through the Archeronian afterworld in the halls of judgment, where souls are weighed to determine their ultimate fate. There's a gigantic cast of non-player characters and new monsters. Stunning art and maps produced by renowned Conan artists. The 220-page hardcover is going to carry an MSRP of $49.99. You can grab the PDF right now over at DriveThruRPG for $21. So the PDF has been out for a bit, but this is actually the biggest Conan campaign that Modiphius Entertainment has produced. 245 Trioxin is asking if Conan is public domain. So many companies making Conan RPGs. That is actually not the case. The family, I guess, whoever owns the copyright to Conan has a deal with Modiphius Entertainment, the estate of Robert E. Howard. Yep, there you go. Wraithing points out the estate. Yes. So there are not multiple Conan role-playing games that are for sale now. It's only this one. And there are also some Conan board games as well. I know Ares came out with one. I don't know how well that went over. Haven't really heard much about that. If you are a fan of Conan, you really do owe it to yourself to pick up the core book because it is, even if you're not a big fan of the 2D20 system, the mechanics of it, man, artwork is fantastic. The ideas in the books as well, really, really top notch. And of course, there's all these source books that, Conan the Thief, and I don't think they've done King Conan yet. I don't think so. They've got Conan the Mercenary. So I actually have all of the stories. Wasn't too long ago. It was, I don't know, about 10 years ago that there was an audiobook series that came out, and all the stories are presented in the order that they were published. Because Robert E. Howard always talked about how he wrote the stories and they jump around time-wise a lot. And he said he wrote the stories as if he was sitting there just being regaled by Conan with stories. Raything says Red Nails. Red Nails is an excellent story. Excellent story for Conan. So definitely keep it in mind. Keep it in mind. Of course, like I said, this is coming out this week. It's supposed to be hitting stores in hardcover, and you can grab the PDF, obviously enough, at DriveThruRPG. If you purchase the book through Modiphius Entertainment, you do get the PDF for free. So, Kevin R. Smith says, as far as copyright goes, it might be around 1925 right now because The Great Gatsby is now public domain. So I'll be the first to point out I do not know tons about copyright, but I do know that not everything becomes public domain. That, look at Mickey Mouse, right? So there are ways around public domain, and I think that is the case with Conan as well. Although I don't think, off the top of my head, was it 1928? I think it was 28 or 29 when Conan was introduced. Because Conan wasn't the first character that Howard had published. I thought it was Kull. I think it was Kull of Atlantis was his first character that he'd done. Once again, it's not like I'm some, expert on Robert E. Howard either. So, Mr. Eddie T says, yes, it is Kull. Kull it is. All right, sweet. So there was the news. And of course, I was just talking about DriveThruRPG. Don't forget, the gaming gang, thus the Dispatch, is affiliated with the One Bookshelf sites. So if you are going to go visit, say, DriveThruRPG or DM's Guild or Game Vault, what have you, by all means, please stop by thegaminggang.com first. Click on one of our banner ads. That way, if you happen to make a purchase, I get a small portion of that sale. And gotta say, all those nickels, dimes, and quarters really do add up, and they help keep thegaminggang.com around. Also, like to point out, if let's say you're going to DM's Guild and you see the banner ad, which will change. I don't know if people have noticed that. It does change. It kind of rotates. It's all automatic. It's all this magical website stuff. But if you say you want to go to DM's Guild and it's a banner for DriveThruRPG, all you got to do, click on that banner. When you get to DriveThruRPG, look at the lower left, scroll down, click on whatever One Bookshelf site you're trying to go to. Maybe it's Storyteller Vault. And the affiliate code will follow. So you've got that. Kevin says Conan didn't appear until 1932. I thought it was the 30s, but didn't Howard commit suicide? Was it 36 that he committed suicide? Because I could have swore, now, once again, I got all these things that bounce through my head. I don't know. But I thought he commits suicide in like May of 36, and then Lovecraft died in 38. Not positive. I would have thought that it would have been more than 4 years of Conan stories, although it is kind of interesting. There is a period where the Conan stories are kind of, and even Howard himself was like, yeah, he was just cranking stuff out to make money. So there's a period of about 12 months where the Conan stories are very, very similar. It's all scantily clad women, and okay. So, so Jason's got a rock. Good to see you, Jason. Hopefully, catch the rest of the show later on. Anyway, so Kevin says he won't be public domain for several years, possibly decades, since there's this weird public domain loophole that only works for specific years. Yeah, specific years that Walt Disney introduced things. That's the strange loophole that there is, right? All righty. So, anyway, also want to point out that if you like this video, if you dig the channel, if you find thegaminggang.com to be a valuable resource, hell, if you like what we do, you can always swing on over and make a small donation over at paypal.me/thegaminggang. And quite a few people do that, or head on over to DriveThruRPG through our banner links and really help out. So much appreciated. Big old tip of the cap. Speaking of a cap, a couple of people were kind of curious. What is this? What is this from? This is actually the official Gen Con cap for 2022. So, Outer World, the folks behind Outer World retired, so they're not around anymore. So Roleplaying is the company that came in last year, and they do all the Gen Con stuff. So, but they also do like geek culture clothing and other swag. So it's not like Outer Worlds was a lot of t-shirts, baseball caps. I got to point out the last baseball cap I got from them for Gen Con looked awful. The shape of it was bizarre. I didn't realize it until after I bought it. So anyway, so that is what this is. And you might actually hear a bit more about Roleplaying in the future. So I did actually have a chance to chat with somebody from the company at Gen Con. They actually have a game coming out. It's like a drinking game that kind of looks kind of funny. I got a closer look at it. So might see a little bit, some news pieces about that as well. So Connor Dunning is with us in chat. I'm sorry, I saw Connor had popped in a little earlier. Did not have an opportunity to say hello. So the question from Chris Lundgren is, did I ever play Star Frontiers back in the day? I did not. I had the first edition that came out. I had the box set. I think I picked up some adventures for it as well. Once again, I've mentioned this time and time again. I had tons of role-playing game stuff. Never ran. I'd read it. I'd be like, oh, hey, I like this. This sounds kind of cool. But never ran it. So it's like, ooh. Madman says he likes hats. Trust me, a burned bald head is no fun. Neither is a head with hair that's all like, sitting there with a little sunstroke. That's not fun either. Kathy Evans is with us in chat as well. All right, so we are going to jump on into taking a look at Doctor Who, the role-playing game, second edition, limited collector's edition in a few moments. But I did want to point out, some folks have asked about Goodman Games. Did I reach out to Goodman Games? So there's been some questions. Who did I try to talk to at Gen Con? And I did try to get something cooking with Goodman Games. And I actually talked to Joseph Goodman for like 3 minutes. So I know Jen, and I apologize, I don't recall her last name, but I don't know if they still do Spellburn or not. The podcast, I think they do from time to time, but she was on Spellburn. So she's like their PR person now. They brought her on board to be their PR person because I think at one point she had a lot to do with their like organized play kind of thing. So I had emailed her back and forth a little bit about trying to get something going with Goodman Games. And Harley Stroh, who has written a bunch of great adventures for Dungeon Crawl Classics, and I think he's done some Mutant Crawl Classic stuff, had also been trying to get Goodman Games on board with the gaming gang. Because I share news pieces, I've shared reviews of stuff, but all that stuff I've purchased. Or I did receive all 6 of those original adventures reincarnated from a fan of the show, but still they didn't come from Goodman Games, right? So I emailed a little bit with Jen, and she's kind of like, yeah, I don't know. And it's not her fault, I guarantee. So I asked, I just wanted to try to maybe do an interview with somebody representing Goodman Games. And I asked, this was Thursday when I got there, and the exhibit hall had been open about an hour and a half because I don't like going right up like it's 10:05. Hey, I don't do that because these companies are trying to sell, right? So anyway, they were very busy at their exhibit area, and they had a good size area as well. So I asked Jen. Jen said, well, she didn't have time and she didn't know. She said, okay, well, she said, ask Joseph. He's right over there. And I recognized him, of course. So, of course, I gave him a card, and I was asking, of course, he had no idea who I was. And I said, hey, I'd love to do an interview with someone from Goodman Games. And he was like, so he said, we're running games over in the stadium. You could go over there and see who's hanging around. Well, I wouldn't be doing that because they're running games. Oh, hey, look, it's Michael Curtis. Hi, Michael Curtis. I know that you're in the midst of running a game that people have bought tickets for, but allow me to interrupt. It's like, what? So I am sorry to say, I don't think I'll still share news pieces from time to time because I like Dungeon Crawl Classics. I like this stuff. I actually picked up the free quick start that I was going to share a video of to give people a better feel for Dungeon Crawl Classics. But I guess they don't see the value. I guess they don't see the value of providing like review copies of stuff, that they would rather focus on putting 4 people in seats at a game store as opposed to reaching hundreds, if not thousands of people who get to see your products. I don't know. It's not the first company that's been like that either. So, sorry. Speaking of companies, I don't know if GMT's sending me stuff anymore. I don't know. The what was it? The South China Sea game that Harold Buchanan did that I was really looking forward to checking out. And it was like, oh, I can review this because this is a game that I can easily get Elliot or Cameron, my nephew, to play. No dice, didn't show up. And I got to be honest, if GMT felt, well, he's not doing reviews of our big, hefty Hex Encounter games, which I told him in the past it was not going to happen because I can't get him to the table. That's just how it's going to be. I don't know. I don't know what to tell anybody. That would be too bad because GMT has been on board since the gaming gang started. So that would be kind of too bad, but I could see their point. So, and I've also talked about how I'm shifting. I want to shift more towards, at least me personally, tackling role playing games and having other people do not all board games, but many of the board games and that. So there is that. All right. So a couple more questions real quick in chat, and then we will get moving along. Wow, this show's gone a lot longer already than I was expecting. Chris asks, what is my favorite OSR game? And will I do a video on just what is the OSR for those that don't know? Your videos are so well done and balanced. Well, thank you very much. So here's the deal. So people can't even agree on what OSR stands for. So for me to sit there and talk about what is the OSR, I guarantee that'll ruffle some feathers out there. Some people call it the old school revival. I like to refer to it as the old school renaissance. And as far as my favorite OSR, there's a few. I mean, there really are a few. So I think Old School Essentials is well done. I think the problem with Old School Essentials is there's not a lot of content in the books about how do you run this game. The rules presentation is really well done. Really like that. The artwork's fine. Everything's all in one place. I like the advanced fantasy rules that they've got. But there isn't a lot of, hey, this is how you actually run this game like you would have seen in basic or expert. I think Swords and Wizardry is well done. I think that's a pretty good OSR system as well. I tend to like OSR games that draw from advanced D&D because I want those class options. I want those race options as well. I get it. A lot of people out there love basic. They love expert. I just don't happen to have that, my own personal nostalgia for it because we weren't with D&D that long. So I think I played D&D maybe 2.5 years tops. And once I got to high school, I don't think we played even a year because then Call of Cthulhu came out and all of a sudden I was running that. We had people running Top Secrets, Guns of Navarone. Now that's a little bit later. Stormbringer. So lots and lots of that stuff. Chris points out that they picked up Osric because of my video and they love it. Yeah, I like that as well. Once again, it is also kind of a book that's like, here are the rules. We've cleaned things up. Not going to really explain how you run this thing. So tell you what else I have been taking a peek at, and you will see some reviews coming for this very shortly, is Castles and Crusades. And Castles and Crusades really isn't OSR because a lot of people, they feel OSR is original D&D, BX D&D, and AD&D, and that is it. Once you go past that, you are now out of the range of OSR. So like and there are some games out there that are like second edition retro clones of D&D. Those would not be considered OSR by people who, really want to pigeonhole what OSR is. Question is Troika OSR? Oh, I'm sorry. For some people, Troika is OSR. Reality is it's not, at least in my book, it's not. It would fall into what a lot of people like to refer to as new SR. Kevin points out there's basic fantasy, which is free, as are all its supplements. That is also really good. I have done that as well. So Tessie Trekkie asks, is OSR a rule set or a play style? To me, it is a play style with certain mechanics. is sort of how I look at it. If a role-playing game uses your attributes, so let's say you've got a 14 constitution, and if you're making a check against constitution and you're rolling a 20-sided die and you have to roll equal to or lower than, that's OSR. That's kind of OSR. If you're playing something where you've got your DCs and you're rolling a 20-sided die and you're adding your bonuses and things like that, that is not OSR. That is more modern D20. Once again, completely my opinion. It's like, I don't make the rules. Nobody makes the rules. I look at it this way. If you enjoy what you play, God love you for it. Seriously. I am not one of these people who, and if you follow the show, follow the website, I never talk about, oh, you're having the wrong fun. That's wrong fun. Absolutely not. If you have a good time, your players around the table are all having a good time, that is fantastic. I don't care what you're running, as long as, you're not creeping people out, Like, oh, we're all maids. We are? What? Huh? Like I said, if you're enjoying yourself, you're having a good time, you're doing it right. You're doing it right. Because I'll tell you what, there are far too many people out there who are way too focused on making sure they get all the mechanics correct. Got to make sure I got every rule down pat. And their games are boring as shit. You're like, I would not want to deal with that. And I have sat at tables with very bad game masters and I just was like, okay, you know what? I'm not saying anything because I'm not a jerk like that. It's like, this will end. It'll be done. We're at a tournament. We're at a convention or something like that. You know what? Never got to play at this person's table ever again. It'll be over. Testy Trekkie says, bad, wrong, fun. You're doing it bad, wrong, fun. Yes. All right. So a lot of chat. Ray Think says this show makes me happy. That's why I'm here. We're here to have some fun. I know some people get upset. They're like, oh, yeah, your show was an hour and 20 minutes long tonight. Okay. So it was. Big deal. Once again, if you're watching live, yes, I could see where it's like, dude, come on, man. I want to see Doctor Who. If you're watching after the fact and there's, timestamps, no excuse of complaining how long the show is because you can just jump right ahead. All right. Speaking of taking a look at Doctor Who, we are going to be taking a peek in just a moment. But first, I honestly think it's time for a brief intermission.
It's intermission. Rise and stretch time. Time to refresh yourself and visit our snack bar. Got a yen for hot popcorn? Your favorite soft drinks are sparkling cold. The juicy Frank sizzling hot. There's delicious coffee, freshly brewed, and all kinds of ice cream and candy to tempt you. Showtime will be announced loud and clear to get you back to your car in time. So stretch your legs. Come to the snack bar now.
Hey, son of a gun, it's refreshment time. Come on, come on, come on and taste the Pepsi way. Come on, come on, come on and have a Pepsi day. Wrap a thirsty smile around it, raise a Pepsi up and down it. Come on and have a Pepsi day. Come on and make this day a celebration. Come on and join the Pepsi generation. Come on. Have a Pepsi day.
How about a delicious cup of Wilkins coffee? No! Strange things happen to people who don't drink Wilkins.
Long ago in colonial Virginia, a tempting new recipe was created. They called this tasty dish Smithfield Barbecue. And today, that famous James River Smithfield barbecue is still being prepared right there in Smithfield, Virginia, lovingly simmered in old-fashioned open kettles. The fame of James River brand Smithfield barbecue has spread over the entire world, so that today, happy folks in every land are enjoying that old Virginia dish, rich in tender meat, tangy with barbecue sauce. Getting hungry? Well, we wouldn't just tell you about Smithfield barbecue. Step up and enjoy one at our refreshment stand right now. When you bite into that luscious, lip-smacking Smithfield barbecue sandwich, you'll find out for yourself why James River brand Smithfield barbecue is a favorite everywhere.
Be sure to have Step and Fetch It come bring you your Smithfield barbecue. Well, I tell you, it's like, my God. Some of the stuff that was just there in plain view. So insulting for everyone. And yes, even the Washington Monument is out to get Wontkins. Don't know what to tell you. All right, so we are going to jump on in and take a look at Doctor Who, the role-playing game 2E, limited collector's edition in a sec. But the Werewolf and Disavow92 have joined us in chat. Werewolf points out, too bad about Goodman Games. They have a couple of new 5e books they were interested in learning about. So this is what I tell people all the time. If you like a company and you want them to like be on board with the gaming gang, you reaching out to the company means a lot to them. Me touching base with them, not so much. But when their own customers reach out and say, hey, I don't know if you know about this website. I don't know if you know about this guy's series of videos, what have you, his live stream, whatever. You'd be amazed at how much, especially like if you send a company an email and say, hey, I just wanted to let you know, I bought XYZ product of yours because Jeff McAleer over at the Gaming Gang shared a review of it. And, you know, they're like, huh, what? Who? So, just pointing that out. All righty. So, tonight, I am going to announce the winner of the Gen Con RPG Publisher Creator Contest. So, if you remember, I had mentioned if you left a comment on the videos, there were 5 publishers and creators that I interviewed over at Gen Con. Whoever had the most views, I was going to choose one lucky winner, and they were going to receive 2 PDFs from that company. Well, Chaosium Inc. came out on top. I was kind of surprised. They've cracked 500 views, which, at least for me, my convention, interviews usually don't pull in a hell of a lot of views. I'm not alone in that either. So, but yeah, Cubicle 7 pulled some in. Paizo did all right. So, anyway, Chaosium Inc. was the winner, and the winning viewer is Simeon. So, Simeon is not watching live right now, but I'm going to take a guess that Simeon will probably be checking out the replay or on demand. So, do me a favor, Simeon, reach out, send an email to Jeff McAleer at thegaminggang.com. And be sure to send that email from the account that's tied into your YouTube. So it's your Gmail tied into your YouTube. And we will make arrangements to get you a couple of PDFs. So essentially, it would be the 2 latest PDFs that have come out. So you're looking at A Time to Harvest for Call of Cthulhu and Cults of Cthulhu. But if you don't own Call of Cthulhu, or maybe you want RuneQuest, by all means, let me know, because I'm going to make sure to hook you up. Also, don't forget, you still have a few hours to go to get into the running. I'm grabbing the wrong slipcase set. To win this, yes, that's right, the alternate art edition of Dungeons & Dragons Spelljammer Adventures in Space. And I will be providing the winner's name during my review, which will be up tomorrow morning. Yes, I'm going to have that review up before the stores open. So, you know, should we go to buy it or not? Chris asks, would the Gaming Gang ever come out west to the big gaming convention, Strategic Con in LA? They have publishers, smaller publishers there. They get very little press, but been around for decades. Back when I used to deliver vehicles around the country, yeah, that'd be pretty easy. But these days, it kind of comes down to Comic-Con and Gen Con. And I gotta be honest, I don't really care about Comic-Con. So, but my brother does, so that's why I go, because if I don't go, nobody goes. So, I'm thinking of going to Gary Con. I might reach out as far as Gary Con, because that's up in Lake Geneva. I've always heard some really good things about it. But the thing is, I don't know if they'd want to do like a press thing. So I don't know. I have no idea. So, but yeah, I mean, I would go to smaller conventions, sure. But it's just, you know, the cost involved. So Chris says, Gary Con sounds fun. Yeah, I think there's like 600 people, something like that. I've heard stories where they've actually gone and played in the house that Gary Gygax lived in. The folks who own it will actually allow them to go down and people to go down in the basement and play and stuff. I thought that was pretty wild. All right, let's jump on into taking a look at Doctor Who, the role-playing game 2E. We're going to be looking at the limited collector's edition from my friends over at Cubicle 7 Entertainment. This 256-page hardcover carries an MSRP of $49.99. You can grab the collector's edition, which we're going to take a peek at right now, for $99.99, or snag the PDF over at DriveThruRPG for $29.99. There is also a deluxe dice set that I'm going to show you, and that carries an MSRP of $14.99. So let's swing on over to the other camera. As Disavowed92 asks, when is the Gaming Gang Con? Or Jeff Con? Yeah. It ain't happening, Dooley. I am like, you guys know I'm kind of like the anti-dice tower, so that ain't happening. So Chris is saying, I hope it covers classic Doctor Who as well. Yes, it does. Now, I will point out, the artwork is going to be more focused towards the Jodie Whittaker years, because she was the current Doctor when this was being produced. But you may recall quite a long time ago, during the early part of the show here, I was talking about how there's some really cool Doctor Who stuff that is available right now. I did a news piece. It's a humble bundle that's going on. If you're familiar with Big Finish does a lot of audio dramas, and Doctor Who is one of their featured licenses. And they actually have real actors who portrayed the Doctor. So Tom Baker, Peter Davidson, they've had Peter Eccleston, David Tennant. So, oh yeah, aren't I normally picture in picture? I am. So I was shooting some video, and I needed me to be out of it. So here I am. Thank you, Mr. Eddie T and Sarah, for pointing that out. I didn't even notice that. So anyway, right now, Humble Bundle has a deal, It's 17. They're not really audiobooks, but 17 for $18. But there's only a few days left for that. Also, with the Doctor Who role-playing game, all of their Doctor source books, which are excellent, are on sale for like half price. So they're like half off. They're usually like $34.99. They're like $17.99. And they have just awesome. They're just excellent. All right. So this is the collector's edition. So the cover of the book is the inside of the TARDIS. So we have a little strip of fabric here to lift the book out. That is pretty cool. I like that. And of course, this is a limited edition. They don't have tons of these. And of course, once they've been sold, that will be it. So we are not going to page through it because we're going to look at the regular edition and page through that because TS, my pal over at Cubicle 7, pointed out that the contents are the same. So, but this would look pretty cool. In fact, I'm going to probably put this up behind me, probably replace, I think it's a Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay title that I've got in my little Cubicle 7 spot. I think I'll probably replace it with this. So, Raything says they have Sarah Jane's daughter playing Sarah Jane. That's cool. So Flaming Hearts is definitely too good to use as a book. This would instantly go on the shelf. That's why I had to laugh because Dominic McDowell asked me, he said, because I had asked, I said, could I get a copy of the second edition to share? Because it's coming out in stores. I think it's coming out in stores later this month. But they had it at Gen Con. And he said, oh, yeah, sure. He goes, and he's like, do you want one for the shelf? And I was kind of like, well, this will go on the shelf. And he's like, no. So it's like, here. So he gave me the limited edition as well. All right. So let's take a look at the back here. And of course, do have to point out the fine folks over at Cubicle 7 Entertainment did provide me with these review copies. But neither I nor anyone else affiliated with the gaming gang has received any other sort of compensation for me to share this coverage with you. And these days, believe it or not, some people don't believe it, but it's important you know that. It's important you know I have not been paid to talk something up. You want the whole universe, someone who has seen it all, and that's me. I've lived longer, seen more, loved more, and lost more. I can share it all with you. So that's the newest incarnation of the Master. If you could travel through space and time, where would you go? See, remember I was talking about time and space and time? That now there's like this focus on, with Doctor Who saying space and time as opposed to time and space. Don't know why. With Doctor Who, the role-playing game, you can find out. Travel to the most distant stars as they're born. Maybe travel back to the creation of Stonehenge or the Great Pyramids. Maybe dangerous, facing threats from Daleks, Cybermen, or even worse. But it'll be worth it. What are you waiting for? Let's get a shift on. The award-winning Doctor Who, the role-playing game, has regenerated into a new second edition that is faster, easier, and even more exciting. This book presents all the rules and background you need to voyage across space and time with the Doctor or as new characters experiencing brand new epic adventures. Doctor Who, the role-playing game second edition has been designed to appeal to both the experienced and first-time gamer for 2 or more players, ages 10 to 10,000. Christopher Rush points out, their cat's favorite, RPG book ribbons. Yes, mine too. The kitten trashed the bookmark for my OSC. I was like, damn it. All right, so we're going to jump on in here. So, of course, because I am picture-in-picture up here now, I will be cutting up a little bit of the upper left portion of the book. We're not going to look at everything in this, but I do want to give you a good feel for the game itself, what you're going to find inside this hardcover. It has been a long time since I reviewed the Adventures in Time and Space. So I don't think a ton has changed. I think they have streamlined some of the rules. The mechanics themselves are pretty easy. If I remember correctly, I think it is a dice pool. You only use 6-sided dice. So let's get a shift on. Okay, so I got to be honest. I have not watched all the Jodie Whittaker Doctor Who. And it's got nothing to do with her. I think she's fine. I think she's fine as the Doctor. Actually, I like her a little bit more than I did Peter Capaldi. And Peter Capaldi was fine. My Doctor Who is Tom Baker. Just like Chris had pointed out, I love the Fourth Doctor. Yep. Tom Baker's my Doctor. But I also really liked Christopher Eccleston. I thought David Tennant was great as well. So it's not as if it's like, oh, I don't like the modern Doctor Who. I just found the stories really were falling off. And I was like, eh. And I felt that way with Peter Capaldi as well. Matt Smith was okay. So just going to kind of take a peek through here. The Game Master is a key player who starts the conversation off by describing to the players what is going on, works out what exactly happens after you've rolled those dice, and has the final say in how the rules come into play. Another aspect of the Doctor Who role-playing game is non-conflict. A lot of focus on resolving conflict without resorting to violence. There we go. There's David Tennant. Yeah, there's Amy Pond. So I like Kieran Gillian. I think she's a good actress. I think she's very cool. I couldn't stand where it got to the point where it was like, does all she do in each episode is cry? It was like, come on, Moffat. Don't make her cry every damn episode, okay? I think that was kind of the thing that I didn't care for with Matt Smith that much was the way women were portrayed in those adventures. So Chris Lundgren says Chris Eccleston as the Doctor was good, but only one season, but was good. I heard they treated him very poorly. So because Peter Eccleston was actually a very well-known British actor. I'm sure those of you watching from across the pond know far more about him than I do. But I just think of like the Leftovers, right? He was excellent in The Leftovers. He's an excellent in a lot of stuff. And he would have continued playing the Doctor, but he said his experience was just so bad, he wanted to get out of there. There we go. There's our third Doctor with the Brigadier. I like the third Doctor as well, although he was not my Doctor. So there we've got, oh gosh, I can't remember his name. This is from the first Doctor. So that is the Doctor's daughter, or granddaughter, I should say. And then the one history teacher. So Flaming Heron says Christopher Eccleston hasn't recovered since Doctor Who. Christopher Rush points out the writing was not good. And they rewrote established lore, which is never a good move. Yeah, a lot of times retconning stuff. No. I thought Billy was fine. I thought she was a pretty decent character. I kind of liked that. Yeah, Susan is the granddaughter. Yes, I caught myself. I don't know why I said daughter. So Sarah D says her doctor is Christopher Eccleston. Interesting. Raything says Doctor Who's been a constant in lives of us Brits since we were kids. Yes, watching from behind the sofa. I hear that all the time. There's another character I wasn't all that keen on. And I think Jenna's a good actress. It's just, I don't know. Once again, an underwritten female character during the Stephen Moffat years. There we go. I have to laugh because I turned my nephew Cameron onto Doctor Who when David Tennant was the doctor, and my sister-in-law would watch it with him. And I think she was a little sweet on David Tennant. There we go. Oh, I forget who this is. It's not, is it Romana after she's regenerated? For some reason, I think it is. Because the original actress was pregnant and they wrote her out and replaced her. Colin Baker. Kind of cool. All right. So I just like commenting on the photography. So, as I was talking about, one of the big aspects of Doctor Who, as far as role playing, is that it is not, sure, of course, you'll have, NPCs bite the dust, right? Take a dirt nap. You got to. I mean, it's Doctor Who. You got to have the baddies. They're not bad if they're not, taking people out. But that is not how the Doctor and the Doctor's companions solve problems. So there are a lot of different aspects of this game. You don't have to actually play as a doctor and companions. You can play a group of almost like time cops if you wanted to do that. There you go. Flaming Heron. Ian Chesterton was the companion's name. Even had to stretch his memory to remember the other two companions. So, funny enough, Patrick Troughton, who played the second Doctor, he was pretty good, but unfortunately, we don't have access to a lot of his series because that was back when the BBC was so cheap. They would sit there and they would reuse the tapes. So here we're basically getting a breakdown of the core mechanics, right? So we've got difficulty levels, and we have success levels. So rolling dice and adding numbers is fine, but what are you rolling for and how do you interpret the outcome? First of all, decide what the character intends to do, blah, 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 blah. Some tasks are going to be more difficult than others. After all, reprogramming an alien computer is going to be much harder than replacing batteries in the TV remote control. I don't know if I'd be having anybody roll for a TV remote. I don't know. There you go. Writing points out that Mary Tam and then Lala Ward played Romana. And yes, Tom Baker married Lala Ward. I don't think they were married very long. So Chris L asks, what is the Doctor's best villain? In my opinion, I know a lot of people are going to disagree with me, especially if you look at the modern episodes. But if you go look at some of the classic Doctor Who, the Master, always loved episodes that had the Master. So here we've got our difficulty levels and then your dice. So I'm trying to think if there are exploding dice in this. Okay, so it says when you roll your dice, if any of the dice come up with a 1 or a 6, it could mean you did really well or not as well as you'd hoped. If either of the dice was a 6, then that's good. Things have gone better than normal. If you've succeeded by getting a result over the difficulty, then that 6 means that not only have you succeeded, but you've succeeded brilliantly. Better than expected or faster than planned. Well done. If you didn't succeed, meaning the total was not over the difficulty, and one of the dice shows a 6, then the universe has been kind to you. You may not have succeeded as you initially planned, but it didn't go as badly as it could have. You may still benefit from this outcome yet. If you roll both 6s, then that's what those folks in Vegas call boxcars. You succeed brilliantly. In fact, even if your result wasn't high enough to succeed, you still managed it as long as the game master agrees with the outcome. All right, so I don't recall what's going on with these difficulty levels. So you're only rolling 2 6-sided dice? I thought there was, here we go. Okay. Attribute plus skill plus 2 6-sided dice. There we go. Now we know. Roger Delgado was Flaming Heron's favorite master by a long shot. Yes. Yes. Completely agree. And then if I remember correctly, I believe he was killed in a car accident. And then they brought in another actor who looked almost exactly like him. It was crazy. So I should point out, I know, we're just doing a first look at the game. And of course, it's always like a stream of consciousness discussion here. I own every existing episode of Doctor Who digitally. You heard that correct. So I have all episodes of the first Doctor, the second Doctor, anything that still exists, I have. Now, I'm not telling you that I've got like high def, because that's certainly not the case. But and every once in a while, I'll go on a kick where I'm, I'll watch like, I don't know, 4 or 5 series. So here we've got sorting out play throughout the universe. So we've got a variety of examples of play. So there we do have advantage. Once again, as I mentioned before, the core mechanics of this game are very, very easy. So Chris L points out they'd have to run this game with a GM screen. Hope they come out with one. I don't know about that. Ray Thing says the boss of the BBC in the 80s hated Doctor Who and axed it. Well, Doctor Who wasn't doing too well. And no offense whatsoever to Sylvester McCoy, because he seems like such a nice guy. But Colin Baker didn't leave the series in good shape. And once again, that really wasn't Colin Baker's fault. The writers kind of made his doctor to be kind of a dick. And they thought they were going to actually be canceling the show like in the middle of his run. And then they thought they were going to cancel it. And then they were like, okay, well, we're going to regenerate to another doctor. And Sylvester McCoy had the, I guess we won't say privilege, but kind of auspicious, that he was the final doctor for a while. Chris points out, I hope they make pre-made modules for this to get up and going. There are adventures for this. There are supplements out there as well. I would think the first edition supplements should be pretty easy to utilize, because as far as I understand, all that was going on with this new edition was kind of streamlining some things, just kind of ironing some stuff out. There is a campaign that is coming out It is out in PDF already. I did a news piece about it last week. So you've got that. It is out at DriveThruRPG. The hardcover comes out early next year. I think it's a Q1 release. There is also another supplement about planets that is coming out, I believe, Q2. I'll probably do a news piece about it tomorrow because I believe that PDF is also out. Here's Peter Davidson, who, interesting trivia note, Peter Davidson's daughter is actually married to David Tennant. So that's kind of interesting. Got two doctors in the family there. The fifth is Peter Davidson. Flaming Heron says Colin Baker was just the weirdest representation of the Doctor attacking people. Yeah, it was kind of weird. I got to be honest. I've only dabbled in the Colin Baker years a little bit. Peter Davidson was fine. I like to tell the story. Hold tight and pretend it's a plan. Chapter 5. This looks like this is Game Master facing stuff. Yep, it is GM facing stuff. So I pointed out before, there's Sarah Jane. Yes. With Tom Baker. Chris L points out the War Doctor was kind of weird too. Yeah, and then there's supposedly now there's an African-American woman who's portraying one of the doctors, but nobody knows anything about the Doctor. So right thing like the failed reboot with Paul McGann and Eric Roberts. I saw it. It was all right. I thought it was okay. I find it very interesting that Paul McGann reprises his role as the Doctor in a ton of audiobook stuff. A lot of Big Finish stuff he's in. Anyway, so I always tell the story that Elliot Miller and I, my best friend, we've been best friends since freshman year of high school. And we used to watch Doctor Who on Chicago's own WTTW, Channel 11. And there were sometimes I'd be over at his house on a Sunday night and spend the night and just go to school the next morning with him. So we'd watch Doctor Who, and we watched the episode where Tom Baker regenerates, and we basically lost our minds because we had no idea there was another Doctor. We didn't know the history of the Doctor, right? And the funny thing is, I had actually been picking up the Target books. That was the publisher was called Target. The novelizations, not realizing that it wasn't the Tom Baker Doctor in many of the stories. So, Flaming Heron says Paul McGann really loved his time being the Doctor. So Kevin says, yeah, they already reached the regeneration limit. Or do they have to not retcon that until after the new Doctor? Yes, I know. I'm curious what they're going to do with that as well. So here we've got a brief history of space and time. It's like we're getting some information about some of the various different characters and creatures. There we go. Units. The Yeti. There you go. There's Patrick Troughton. The Zygons. So one of the aspects that I think is fantastic with the Doctor source books that are available from Cubicle 7 is that, for one, you don't necessarily have to be, there we go, there's the master. This guy, he's not the master. The other guy that they had before him, plus the actress, I wasn't too keen on that either. Yes, that's the real master. Anyway, so for an example, so they have like the fourth Doctor source book. Well, it's all the stories with Tom Baker. And what they do is they actually take those stories, those televised series, and turn them into an adventure. And then they also include like little nuggets where if you wanted to continue past that episode, or maybe if you want to do something different in that episode or episodes, I guess I would say. And very, very cool. Yeah, I wasn't a big fan of this master either. So we got the Daleks. So yes, we're getting some info about a lot of the Doctor's allies and adversaries here. And then we have, remember all the people you used to be. Oh, so it's converting from first edition to second edition. Concept and focus, those are new. Attributes are exactly the same. Skills are almost the same, just with some minor changes. It says the biggest change between editions is probably traits. Where have the traits gone? In most of the cases, traits were tiny details that offered a small bonus to a handful of rolls and sometimes never came into play. If the traits modified rolls for something like a phobia or a weakness, this easily carries over by making a note of this aspect of the character on the sheet and role-playing it as the situation arises. So cool. So this is all, this little appendix here is just, what was it, 3 pages? That's it? So very cool. So we've got our character sheets. So we have our current Doctor and her companions, and a blank character sheet, as well as an index. Raything points out Terrence Dix wrote lots of the Target books. If I remember correctly, isn't Terrence Dix also the gentleman who created the Daleks? And unfortunately did not make the sort of money off of them as he would have liked. So there you have, that is Doctor Who, the role-playing game, 2nd edition. This is the standard edition. It's available for $49.99. Very shortly, it is making its way into stores right now. If you happen to purchase this from Cubicle 7 Entertainment or one of their retailers, you'll get the PDF absolutely free. We also took a quick peek at the limited collector's edition, just like so. And this will be available for $99.99. Of course, keep in mind, if you only want to pick up the PDF, you can do so for $29.99 over at DriveThruRPG. So here are the dice. So these are the deluxe dice. Let's see if we can get this open here. So it looks like we got a set of 6. All right, come on. Jeez. Why has this got to be such a problem? I guess part of it is because I actually clip my nails. I do not like long, dirty nails. Let's see if I can use this. There we go. So these deluxe dice are $14.99. These do look pretty cool because they are cut. And they have different designs on them for each face. So the 1 is a Dalek. The 2 is also a Dalek. I'm kind of surprised. I thought I'd been a little different. So remember, if you roll 1s on your 6-sided dice, not good. 3 looks like somebody from Unit. 4 is a Cyberman. 5 is K9. Master. And 6 does not show a 6, but it is the TARDIS. So that's what that shows as well. Decent heft to these. Not too shabby. And as I mentioned, they are cut. So this isn't just a sticker or something on them. So Flaming Aaron says, look, Jeff, multiple D6s. Yes, because that was the discussion of the set of dice that came with the starter set, which is for D&D. That's an exclusive through October over at Target, and how there's only one D6, which I think is weird. And then there's only one 20-sided die. So Chris L says, so tiny, I'd be afraid to lose them. Yeah, these are kind of small. So there was some discussion, real quick. Hold on one sec. About how it's like you used to see, I know we're kind of changing gears here. Used to see D&D, Wizards of the Coast would come out with dice sets, dice and miscellany sets that were for whatever current release was out. So this was for The Wild Beyond the Witchlight. So it's Witchlight Carnival. So it's kind of almost like a Halloweenish color scheme, but you got 4 6-sided dice, 2 20-sided dice. So when you have advantage or disadvantage, you could actually utilize that mechanic. In the starter set, you can't. It's like, huh? So that is what Flaming Heron is joking about there. And let's swing on over to the other camera. So very cool. So, of course, I will have a review of the second edition of Doctor Who, the role-playing game, in the near future. So if I remember correctly, when I reviewed Adventures in Time and Space, I thought it was okay. I thought it was a little too light. That it just needed a little tiny more crunch. Of course, it's been years. It's been, I don't know, 9 years since I did that review. So I don't necessarily remember all of it. All right. So what is coming up the rest of the week? So on tomorrow's show, we are going to take a look at Best Left Buried Deeper, which is from Soul Muppet Publishing. So we are going to dive on into this and take a peek. We were talking a little OSR. This is a little OSR, a little new SR as well. So we're going to be taking a peek at this. And then on Wednesday's show, we are going to take a look at the Pathfinder edition of the Battle Zoo Bestiary, which is from Roll for Combat. These folks also do a live show on YouTube, and I've been invited to be a guest. So I think that might be, like the 30th. They're going to have me on. So I was like, yeah, okay, that's fine. In fact, Steven from Roll for Combat actually stopped by and said hello before I did my interview over at Paizo, and he is a fan of the show. So I have some Roll for Combat books. So we're going to take a look. I've got a couple that are for, I think 2 of them are for Pathfinder. One of them is for 5e. So we're going to take a look at this on Wednesday's show. So Chris points out, please for consideration, do a review on Gangbusters BX if I feel inclined. So have to point out, and I did notice there was a comment about Gangbusters BX earlier, and I believe the creator came up with it. They were battling cancer, I believe, at the time. I do reviews. I only do physical books nowadays. Unless, for an example, there's a Kickstarter coming up that I am going to be, I know. The folks loved my Kickstarter coverage for their last project. So they were like, Jeff, please. And I said, okay. Even though I really don't do Kickstarter stuff anymore, I will do it. But that's the only time I ever do PDFs. So if you're friends with the author and they have an actual print copy that they can send along, I'm more than happy to share coverage. Or if they want a review for a PDF, I can also assign it to one of our reviewers here as well. So that is an option for you to keep in mind. So Chris says, yeah, they got a hard copy. So there must be a hard copy out there. All righty. So let's see. Anything else going on? All right. Looks like everybody knows this is going to be, going to be the end of the show. So Kevin says, oh, Roll for Combat's one of the biggest Pathfinder YouTube channels. Great publicity. It's me, though. I am. What is the word? What do I like to I am a kind of an acquired taste. That is what I like to say. I am an acquired taste. So anyway, so Chris points out that the Gangbusters BX is hardcover on DriveThru. Like I said, if you know the publisher, I shouldn't say publisher, if you know the author, if they'd like to get it reviewed, have them shoot me an email. So see what we can work out. All righty. So that is it for this time out. If you like this video, by all means, please give it a quick thumbs up. Subscribe to the Gaming Gang channel if you haven't already. If you do subscribe, ding the bell. It'll not only let you know when the Gaming Gang Dispatch streams live Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday evenings right here on YouTube at 7 p.m. Central. It also lets you know when I upload other videos, such as tomorrow morning's review of Dungeons and Dragons, Spelljammer Adventures in Space from Wizards of the Coast. Plus, I'll announce the winner of my slipcase set for the alternate art edition. Anyway, if you were watching live, thank you very much. If you took part in chat, a bigger thank you. Much appreciated. But of course, I know a lot of you out there, you don't have an opportunity to watch live. Doesn't matter if you're watching any of these videos live or on Memorex. Thank you very, very much. Always appreciate any of you taking some time out of your lives to watch any of the videos on the channel. Much appreciated. Of course, when you're not watching videos on the Gaming Gang channel, be sure to visit thegaminggang.com for all latest in tabletop gaming news, reviews, and a whole lot more. You know the drill. Get your geek on at thegaminggang.com. Everybody enjoy the rest of your morning, afternoon, evening, whatever time it happens to be in your neck of the woods. And here's hoping each and every one of you gets to enjoy plenty of great gaming with your gang. See you tomorrow.
And now, folks, it's time to say goodnight. We sincerely appreciate your patronage and hope we've succeeded in bringing you an enjoyable evening of entertainment. Please drive home carefully and come back again soon. Good night.
Oh, hey, you're still here. Well, if that's the case, by all means, subscribe to the Gaming Gang channel by clicking right here. Check out the latest episode of the Gaming Gang Dispatch, or find out what YouTube recommends you check out from the channel. And of course, once again, I'm Jeff McAleer. Thanks for watching.